The first sight anyone had of Arkadia was through the scratched quartz of an aging observatory on Cerule Station, a jade-veined crescent sliding from the blind side of X-ray Zeta's shadow, its hull riddled with living fractals. The monitoring crew hit the emergency beacons, thinking it a bioship eruption or a rogue bioweapon. But by then, Arkadia had already begun to sing. Oscillations as old as whale songs rippled through vacuum magnetics rather than air, carrying the chords, announcing intention, heritage, destination. A routine patrol cutter tried to hail her, failed, and fired a polite lattice of warning pulses across her prow. The pulses vanished inside a blooming corona of chlorophyll mist. Arkadia sang louder and continued inward, toward the planet that corporate charter labeled Omphalos 4, but that the older star charts called Blue Haim, after the thistles that once grew along its coasts. Captain Nia Varga received the alert while strapping on an exosuit. She was supposed to meet local administrators in less than an hour to finalize a desalination plant. Instead, she found herself staring at the holotank's emergent tendrils. "Arkadia," she whispered. "That project was decommissioned before I was born." The biotech saga had become a cautionary tale at the Academy. Dreamers who attempted to hybridize starship and ecosystem, only to vanish with their prototype into dark space when defect budgets collapsed. No one expected them to return, and yet here she was, cutting across restricted orbits without clearance. More troubling, she was headed for Blue Haim, headquarters of Vizion Terraforming Conglomerate, which prided itself on slow, measurable, guaranteed returns. Vizion had spent a century seeding ion scrubbers in the stratosphere, carving glaciers into reservoirs. If rumors of Arkadia's real-time terraforming proved true, the ship threatened to race a trillion-credit timeline overnight. By the third orbit, Arkadia began shedding diamond skin. Flakes drifted away like autumn leaves and unfurled into sensor spores. Each spore read cradle world topologies: fungus, humidity, the subliminal hum of crustal plates. What mattered to Arkadia was resonance. Which latitudes would receive her roots, how her children would climb the jet streams, where memory pits could coil beneath mantle cracks. Conventional arrays logged those spores and tried to jam them, but each carried a microforest of logic. Crude jamming became fertilizer, turning data attacks into photosynth currency. From the command decks of Cerule Station, analysts watched their firewalls sprout literal flowers in system RAM orchid patterns of error code blooming down corridors of glass. Governor Tamron Sloan, Vizion's local executive, filed a formal incursion notice. Nia Varga was enlisted to deliver it in person. Diplomats assumed an ex-Marine spoke a language Arkadia might respect. She boarded a courier puck and burned across the magnetosphere, escorted by 2 gunnery craft. Halfway there, the storm began, an equatorial cyclone that hadn't existed in weather models 2 hours earlier. Satellite feeds showed the eye spiraling around a seed vortex, green lightning hatching from cloud tops. In that din, Arkadia opened her ventral bays, vine bundles tumbled out and dove like squid into the storm wall. "Are those roots?" asked the escort pilot. "More like arterial launchers," Nia murmured. She remembered the Academy lecture. Arkadia's biome crew no longer simply rode the ship. They were the ship, having fused nervous systems with engineered ivy lattices. They called themselves the Grafted. If legend held, they could suture atmosphere to hull plating, photosynthesize trajectory deltas, breathe biocircuitry. Inside the storm, Dropcraft descended from Vison's orbital foundry to lay new stratofilters, Mechanet's procedure to contain rogue climate events. They never reached cloud base. The vine surfaced, swollen with updraft energy, whipping into knots the size of stadiums. A single lash coiled around the first Dropcraft, cracked its ceramic torso, and retracted it skyward until the hull crumpled like wet parchment. Magnetic grapples tried to cut free, but each spark only spurred thicker growth. as if photosynthesis feasted on kinetic outrage. In less than 6 minutes, every filter hauler hung trussed, steam leaking from ruptured cryolines, petals of metal blossoming across vine girth. Satellite images went viral, an armada of mechanical cocoons, crucified by green ropes in a thunderhead halo. Nia's message queue overloaded with frantic pings. She silenced them. The courier puck slotted into Arkadia's dorsal mooring, a socket shaped as if the ship had always expected her. Organic pores closed around the hull. Air rushed in, smelling of wet loam and citrus. Nia disembarked to a corridor of living bark. Veins of amber lit the path. At the end, a chamber widened into cathedral hush, vaulted ribs that were once bulkheads, now braided in vines, dripping condensate into reed pools. Bioluminescent moats floated like will-o-wisps. In the center stood a figure, whose torso shimmered between human and algorithmic forest. Bark over bone, leaves instead of hair, but eyes, unmistakably sharp, golden, aware. Captainia Varga, the figure said, voice layered, one sonorous, one whispering beneath. I am Laurel, speaker for Arkadia. We welcome you home. I never knew this place, Nia replied. All soil is home, if you stay long enough. They walked among root thrones where others of the grafta reclined, skin mottled with chloroplasts, conversing through mycelial threads embedded in the air. Some noticed her, offering nods sweet as dusk. Laurel guided her to an oculus, where hull dissolved into transparent cellulose. Blue Haim rotated below, its night side flickering with the electrified vines, each still clasping Vizian's captured craft. You ensnared them, Nia accused. Only slowed them, Laurel corrected. Violence is sterile. Growth is patient. We needed attention. You have it. The governor filed incursion status. Officially, you're hostile. Laurel laid a hand of interwoven twigs on the railing. Hostility is mining a planet for a century while calling it healing. Arkadia offers symbiosis terraformation in one season with 0 extraction scars. That season could erase billions in infrastructure, livelihoods. Spreadsheets are not lives. Nia fought a retort, studied the planet. Even through clouds, she saw tinted swirls the size of continents. Algae blooms sculpted into fractal spirals. Guiding winds to distribute rain where deserts yawned. Arkadia had been here less than a day. What do you want from Blue Haim? She asked. Nothing. We want to give her back to herself. But we require the Landwalker's consent to plant the Heartseed. Nia remembered rumors. Heartseed, a singular biome core that would root through mantle layers, sequester toxins, exhale breathable mix in real time. Risk, if seeded incorrectly, plates could fracture, oceans could flash boil. You need Vizon's permission for that? Laurel smiled. We need yours. I'm a contractor. Yet you stand here, answers old, as gravity pulled you aboard. Her stomach clenched. She thought of murals in her childhood apartment, lush jungles. Earth had lost to overheating. She'd enlisted in the Terraform Corps, believing she could graft gardens onto the stars. Years on Vizion projects taught compromise, incremental salvage, profit timetables. Still, at night she dreamed green thunder. Consent or not, she said. Vizion will retaliate. Those vines around the dropcraft, corporate security will interpret as war. They'll deploy electron scythes, escalate until something explodes. Laurel nodded. That, too, is growth, though a bitter kind. Which fruit do you choose, Nia Varga? The speaker offered a seed, plum-colored, pulsing. Touching it felt like placing her finger on a hummingbird's chest, frenetic, vital. Vision flooded her, a coastline sprouting mangrove forests overnight, carbon haze dissolving into clear dawn. Children harvesting fruit whose genome encoded tales from forgotten Earth biomes. She saw herself walking paths of glass flowers, hope hurt like tear gas behind her eyes. Give me a channel to Vizon HQ, she breathed. Laurel gestured. A spire of wood uncurled, exposing communication spores that synced to her neural band. Governor Sloane's face appeared, sweat-streaked, jaw taut. Behind him, alarm klaxons. Captain Varga, you're alive? Explain your status. I'm aboard Arkadia. We're in negotiation. Those savages are stripping our hardware in orbit. They've damaged nothing irreplaceable. They only seek talks, Sloane sneered. We don't parley with pirates. Extraction units are inbound. They'll cut that weed pile to mulch. Laurel's dual voice flowed through Nia's channel, audible to Sloane. We have performed no act of lethal force. Yet your approach bristles with warheads. If fired, their ashes will salt your skies for decades. You threaten my planet? Sloane barked. The planet is not yours, Laurel replied. But no, I promise only arithmetic. Nia lifted the seed to the camera. Governor, Arkadia's tech could finish terraformation now. Think of the costs saved, the goodwill. That's unauthorized biotech. We'd spend centuries certifying toxicity. Meanwhile, share price plummets. Impossible. Nia's heartbeat drummed. Perhaps impossible under the current charter. Then alter the charter. We join the stars to adapt, not ossify. Your contract binds you to my orders. Return at once or be marked rogue. Nia set the seed into a niche of bark. It sprouted thin tendrils across her gloves, as if kissing farewell. Governor, if compliance means sterilizing hope, consider me already rogue. She severed the line. Air tasted of lightning and sap. Around her, the grafted bowed their heads, accepting her allegiance. Yet the choice felt fragile, exposed. She hadn't stopped the missiles en route. Laurel spoke. Objections remain. Worry of control. Fear our growth will engulf cities. Demonstration may calm them. Help us land, Captain. How do we ensure zero casualties? Guide us to a site unpopulated. Let them watch deserts bloom. She plotted a trajectory to the bleached expanse, a continent of cracked salt Vizine had earmarked for future algae farms. Arkadia reoriented. In orbit, vines slackened just enough for the bound drop craft to fall clear, their pilots scrambling free mape of goodwill. A final shockwave of green thunder pulsed from Arkadia's core, retracting the vines into stasis pods. But the missile swarm had already crossed the Terminator. 60 tungsten lances tipped with neutrino bombs bore down on Arkadia. Inside command chambers grown from teak, Nia overrode Arkadia's reflex to swat them. If we neutralize, Vision will escalate forever. Better to disarm through transparency. Laurel fused with a console, vines knitting into tesseract glyphs. Agreed. We shall invite their weapons inside. The hull peeled open like gills. Missiles entered one by one, captured by magnetized palisades of silverleaf. As each warhead touched the inner field, it dissolved. Not exploded, simply unraveled at quantum seams. Its matter recycled into lattice-work scaffold. Camera drones broadcast the spectacle galaxy-wide. Artillery becoming orchids. Momentum shifted. Social nets erupted in wonder. Stock tickers froze, then rebounded, speculating on Arkadia patents. Vizion's board quarantined Sloane's kill codes, citing brand risk. Arkadia slipped into lower atmosphere. She did not descend whole. Instead, petals of her shell separated and spiraled downward like gliders, each carrying cadres of the grafted seeds and microbiomes. Nia rode the foremost petal, wind roaring over her suit as clouds broke to reveal the bleached expanse. A wasteland of bone-white flats stretching horizon to horizon. Sunlight blazed. Ground temp soared at 60 Celsius. Souls, life couldn't root here without decades of engineering. The petal landed like a feather. Vines uncoiled and touched salt. Steam hissed. Salt cracked, swallowing the roots to drill deep, traveling liquefied corridors in mere seconds. Nia walked forward, sensors recording compulsively. Chlorophyll spread beneath the translucent crust, a vein network drawing brine upward, extruding crystals into lace pillars. Within minutes, a quilt of jade and turquoise stitched itself across the wasteland. Air pressure nudged upward by a hair. She breathed unaided, startled to taste humidity laced with mint. A kilometer away, an observer drone from Serial Station hovered, capturing footage. Let them witness. Laurel approached, bare feet anchoring into soil that hadn't existed an hour ago. Heartsea chambers nearly primed. Will you carry the spark? Nia remembered her first off-world assignment, planting conventional algal mats that took years to show color. This transformation felt like standing inside a time-lapse video of creation. She accepted. The core spark, a glowing mote, pressed into the hollow of her sternum. It stung, then dissolved, sending warmth through marrow. Thunder rolled. Not from storm, but from fissures opening in the salt, revealing chasms lit by bioluminescent vines threading magma tunnel. The heart seed germinated. Its root, a silken cable kilometers long, already tapping geothermals. Above ground, shoots unfurled into towering stalks striped with luminescent spirals, leaking vapor that formed infant clouds. A Vazian survey shuttle landed at perimeter, white flags flashing. Out stepped Dr. Silu Tan, chief ecologist, palms raised. Captain Vorga, what have you done? Given Blue Haim a choice, Nia answered. Selu's boots crunched on newly softened soil. She knelt, ran handheld spectrometers, eyes widened. No mutagenic risk. Water purity at 99, this breaks every model. Laurel arrived, offering a young leaf. Selu hesitated, then accepted. Telemetry cascaded across her HUD genomes, annotated with fallback kill swips keyed to planetary DNA, impossible odds of runaway growth. She swallowed. If these figures hold, we can complete habitability indices inside months. But Sloan will never approve unsanctioned biotech. Governors rotate, Laurel said. Planets persist. Selu looked at Nia. If I testify, they'll brand me traitor. Or pioneer, Nia countered. In orbit, corporate lawyers were already drafting new language mergers, joint stewardship, licensing rights. Arkadia's demonstration had turned annihilation into negotiation. Night swept over the bleached expanse, yet darkness refused to settle. The new forest glowed pinks, deep blues, gold pulses timed to tide cycles. Strange insects conjured from engineered spores flickered under leaves, beginning unplanned symphonies. Nia sat on the ridge beside Laurel. What binds you to this path? She asked. We carry exile in our roots, Laurel said softly. We fled greed, but we are not immune to it. Each planet is a test. Can we offer gifts without taking more than is given? And if the answer ever becomes no, Laurel plucked a seed, crushed it between fingers. Then we wither. That too is growth. Overhead, the skeleton of Arkadia hung above clouds, petals gone, her core now an orbital reef of solar sails and seed vaults. She would remain caretaker until the planet matured, then venture again into dark space for the next wounded world. Messages pinged Nia's wrist, council hearings scheduled, testimonies requested. She muted them. Wind carried scents of salt-sweet blossoms and something older, humbling soil, daring to be young again. Laurel, she said, there will be audits, fear campaigns. They'll ask why I trusted you. What will you answer? That I saw a desert turn green in under an hour. That life is smarter than profit. And maybe, she added, smiling at the luminescent horizon, because gravity isn't the only thing that pulls us home. Laurel's laughter rustled like leaves. As twin moons rose, vines spun upwards, weaving platforms where children not yet born would someday watch dawn ignite a forest their ancestors never imagined. Arkadia's song drifted across the new canopy, less a proclamation now than a lullaby, promising that growth and grace could share the same root if only someone dared to plant the first seed.